Never reheat these 4 foods. A warning for anyone over 60. Did you know that a simple, everyday act, something as innocent as warming up last night's dinner in the microwave, could either be a nourishing comfort or a hidden threat to your well-being, especially after the age of 60? It sounds dramatic, I know. But here is the sobering truth. Every year, countless seniors across the country experience sudden bouts of digestive distress, debilitating fatigue, or even severe food poisoning, and they often chalk it up to just having a sensitive stomach, or something that didn't agree with them. They rarely suspect that the real culprit might be lurking right there in their own refrigerator, in a container of perfectly good leftovers. Now, I'm not here to scare you or to suggest you should start throwing away good food. In fact, leftovers can be a wonderful, time-saving, and nutritious part of your life. But when certain foods are stored and reheated incorrectly, they can silently transform from a healthy meal into a breeding ground for problems. Problems that can show up as stomach cramps, bloating, or in the worst cases, a dangerous illness that your body, after 60, is not as equipped to fight off. So, in today's important video, we are going to pull back the curtain on kitchen safety. I will walk you through the 4 most common foods you should never reheat without following specific rules, especially if you or a loved one is over 60. But I won't leave you with a list of fears. Afterwards, I will share the golden rules for safe reheating, simple, powerful techniques that will empower you to enjoy your leftovers with complete peace of mind, supporting your health, your budget, and your precious time. This isn't just another list of kitchen tips. This is a crucial conversation about the small habits that make a monumental difference in your health and safety. So, please stay with me. If you're someone who relies on leftovers for lunch or enjoys a second-day meal to make life easier, this video could fundamentally change how you approach your food. And hey, just before we dive in, let's see where we all stand. If you regularly eat leftovers, do me a favor and type a 1 in the comments below. If you rarely or never do, type a 0. I'm curious to see. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more essential health tips that truly matter for your vitality. Now, let's get into it. The first food we need to talk about is perhaps the most popular leftover of all, chicken. For most of us, a leftover piece of roast chicken or a scoop of chicken casserole is a go-to for a quick and easy next-day meal. It's packed with protein, it's versatile, and it's delicious. It's the king of leftovers, right? But here's something that most people are completely unaware of. The danger with chicken isn't necessarily the chicken itself, but how its very structure changes after being cooked, cooled, and then reheated. Here's why. Chicken has a very dense protein structure. When you cook it the first time, those proteins break down in a specific way that makes them digestible. However, when that cooked chicken cools down in the refrigerator, the proteins begin to change and reform. When you then reheat it, especially quickly in a microwave, you are altering that protein composition for a second time. For a younger person with a robust digestive system, this might not cause any noticeable issues. But as we age, our bodies change. After the age of 60, we naturally produce less stomach acid and fewer digestive enzymes. This means our gut is less forgiving. When you eat improperly reheated chicken, these altered, twice-changed proteins can be very difficult for your digestive system to break down. This can lead to that awful, heavy feeling in your stomach, bloating, gas, and sometimes even painful cramps. You might eat a perfectly healthy chicken salad for lunch and spend the rest of the afternoon feeling queasy and unwell, never once suspecting that the way you warmed up the chicken was the cause. But there's an even more serious risk. The USDA constantly reminds us that chicken is a common carrier of bacteria like Salmonella and Campylobacter. While proper initial cooking kills these bacteria, any surviving spores or new contamination can multiply as the food cools. If the chicken isn't reheated to a high enough temperature all the way through, these dangerous bacteria can survive and multiply, leading to a nasty case of food poisoning. For a senior, whose immune system may be compromised by age or other health conditions, this isn't just an inconvenience. It can be a serious health event requiring medical attention. Let me tell you about my friend Arthur. He's a wonderful 78-year-old gentleman who lives on his own and prides himself on cooking a big roast chicken every Sunday to have meals for a few days. For years, he complained of having bad days, where his stomach would feel off and he'd have no energy. He would take a piece of chicken from the fridge, pop it in the microwave for 90 seconds until it was just warm enough, and eat it. Once he learned about the importance of thorough reheating, he bought a simple digital food thermometer. He started reheating his chicken in the oven or on the stovetop until the thermometer read 165 degrees Fahrenheit deep in the center. The change was immediate. His bad stomach days virtually disappeared. It wasn't magic, it was science. So, what should you do? First, never reheat chicken by just taking the chill off. Your goal is to make it steaming hot. The magic number, according to all food safety agencies, is an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or 74 degrees Celsius. The only way to know for sure is with a food thermometer. They are inexpensive and an essential tool for any senior's kitchen. Second, the method matters. A microwave is fast, but it heats unevenly, creating hot and cold spots where bacteria can survive. If you must use a microwave, cut the chicken into smaller pieces, place it in a microwave-safe dish with a little broth or water to keep it moist, and cover it. Reheat it, then stop halfway through to stir the pieces or rotate the dish. Then, continue heating until it is piping hot throughout. Always let it stand for a minute before checking the temperature in several spots. The safest methods? Reheating it in a covered skillet on the stove over medium heat, or in an oven set to around 350 degrees Fahrenheit until it reaches that safe internal temperature. It takes a few extra minutes, but your health is worth it. Alright, now that we've handled the king of leftovers, let's move on to its most common and seemingly harmless sidekick. You might not believe this one. Let's talk about rice. Rice. It's a staple in diets all around the world. It's affordable, easy to make, and the perfect companion to countless dishes. What could possibly be dangerous about reheating a simple scoop of rice? Well, here's the critical secret that most people don't know. The danger with rice has almost nothing to do with the act of reheating it. The danger is already sealed in before you even put it in the microwave. It all comes down to how you handled the rice after you cooked it the first time. Here's what's really going on. Uncooked rice contains spores of a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. This is completely normal and harmless. The spores themselves are incredibly tough and can easily survive the boiling and steaming process of cooking. When the cooked rice is left to sit at room temperature, on the countertop, in the rice cooker with the power off, or in a pot on the stove, these spores don't just survive, they wake up. In the warm, moist environment of cooked rice, they begin to grow and multiply rapidly into active bacteria. As these bacteria multiply, they produce toxins. And here is the most crucial part: these toxins are heat resistant. That means, no matter how hot you reheat the rice, even if you zap it until it's steaming, the toxins produced by the bacteria can remain. It's these toxins that cause a particularly nasty form of food poisoning often called fried rice syndrome, leading to vomiting, diarrhea, and severe abdominal cramps, usually starting within a few hours of eating. For a senior, an episode of this kind of food poisoning is far more than just a bad day. Dehydration is a major risk, and the stress on the body can be immense. Think about it. How many times have we seen a pot of rice from dinner just left on the stove to cool for hours before someone puts it away? Or a container of takeout rice sitting on the kitchen counter? This common practice is a recipe for disaster. I remember a story from a public health nurse I know. She told me about a community potluck where several of the older attendees became quite ill. After an investigation, they traced the source back to a large, beautiful rice pilaf. The kind woman who made it had cooked it in the morning but left it on her counter to cool for over 4 hours before bringing it to the event. She had no idea she was creating a hidden hazard. So, how do you handle rice safely? The solution is all about speed. The number one rule is the 1-hour rule. You must cool and refrigerate cooked rice as quickly as possible, ideally within 1 hour of cooking. Do not leave it to cool on the stovetop for hours. To do this efficiently, take the rice out of the hot pot or rice cooker and spread it in a thin layer on a baking sheet or in a shallow, open container. This increases the surface area and allows it to cool down much faster. Once it's no longer steaming hot, place it in an airtight container and get it straight into the refrigerator. When it's time to reheat, make sure you heat it until it is steaming hot all the way through. Again, that 165 degrees Fahrenheit temperature is a great target. And critically, you should only ever reheat rice once. Do not reheat it, put it back in the fridge, and then reheat it again. If you have a large batch, only take out and reheat the portion you plan to eat immediately. It's a simple shift in habit, from passive cooling to active cooling, that can completely eliminate the risk. Okay, from the grain, we now move to the green. The third food we need to be extremely mindful of is spinach, and this applies to other leafy greens like kale and chard as well. This one often comes as a shock, because we are all told to eat more leafy greens. They are packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber. A dish like creamed spinach or a healthy kale and bean soup seems like the perfect healthy leftover. And it is, but only if you handle it correctly. The hidden issue with spinach and similar greens lies in a naturally occurring compound they contain called nitrates. In their natural state, nitrates are perfectly harmless. In fact, our bodies use them for various functions. However, when cooked spinach is left to sit and is then reheated, a chemical process can occur. Certain bacteria, which can be present on the greens or introduced during cooking, can convert these harmless nitrates into a more troublesome compound called nitrites. This becomes even more problematic when the food is reheated, especially to high temperatures. The heat can cause these nitrites to further transform into something called nitrosamines. That's a word you need to remember. Extensive scientific research has linked some nitrosamines to an increased risk of certain types of cancer. They are considered potentially carcinogenic compounds. Now, let's be clear. Eating a single serving of reheated spinach is not going to give you cancer. The risk comes from repeated, long-term exposure. But for seniors who are health conscious and might make a large batch of a healthy green soup to eat throughout the week, reheating that same soup day after day could be unknowingly exposing them to these compounds. As we age, our body's cellular repair mechanisms aren't as efficient as they once were. Therefore, minimizing exposure to potentially harmful compounds is a wise and proactive health strategy. Think of my Aunt Eleanor. At 72, she is incredibly health conscious. She makes a big pot of lentil and kale soup every Monday to have for lunch all week. She believes she's doing the best thing for her body. But by reheating that soup on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, she may be inadvertently creating the very compounds she's trying to avoid by eating healthy in the first place. The science on this is backed by food science journals, which have studied the nitrate to nitrite conversion in vegetables for decades. The consensus is that while the risk is manageable, it is real, and the best practice is to minimize the reheating of high nitrate vegetables. So, what is the safest approach? The gold standard is to eat cooked leafy greens fresh, right after they are prepared. If you're making a big batch of soup or stew, you can cook the base, the broth, beans, other vegetables, and store that. Then, each day when you reheat a portion, simply stir in a handful of fresh spinach or kale at the very end. It will wilt and cook in the hot soup in just a minute or two, giving you all the benefits without the reheating risk. If you have a leftover dish like creamed spinach, it is best to eat it cold, perhaps stirred into a pasta salad, or to reheat it only once, very gently on the stove, just until it's warm, not boiling hot. Avoid blasting it in the microwave. This small adjustment ensures you get all the incredible nutritional power of these greens without any of the hidden chemical risks. Now for our fourth and final food. This is another staple of the dinner plate, and like rice, its danger lies in what happens long before it ever sees the microwave. Let's talk about the humble potato. Baked potatoes, mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes, they are the ultimate comfort food. And leftover potatoes are incredibly versatile. But a cooked potato, if handled improperly, can pose a rare but extremely serious risk. The danger is a bacterium called Clostridium botulinum. This is the bacterium that causes botulism, a severe form of food poisoning that attacks the nervous system and can be life-threatening, especially for older adults or anyone with a compromised immune system. Clostridium botulinum spores are found naturally in soil, so they can be present on the surface of potatoes. The spores themselves are harmless. The problem arises under a very specific set of conditions: a low-acid, low-oxygen environment at room temperature. Can you think of a perfect example of this? A baked potato, wrapped tightly in aluminum foil, left to cool on the counter. When you bake a potato, you kill most active bacteria. But if botulism spores are present, they can survive the heat. Once the potato begins to cool down inside that tight foil wrapper, you have created the perfect warm, moist, oxygen-free environment for those spores to germinate and produce the deadly botulinum toxin. The CDC has documented cases of botulism outbreaks linked directly to foil-wrapped baked potatoes that were held at warm temperatures for too long before being served or refrigerated. Leaving a baked potato out on the counter for several hours is a significant risk. This is the stark reminder I received at a food safety conference. A public health official shared the story of a church supper where a large batch of baked potatoes was cooked in the afternoon, wrapped in foil, and kept in a warmer, not hot enough to prevent bacterial growth, for hours. It resulted in a tragic botulism outbreak. The story has stuck with me ever since as a powerful lesson in food safety. The toxin is odorless and tasteless. You cannot see it or smell it. And it is one of the most potent neurotoxins known to science. This is not a risk worth taking. So what is the ironclad, safe way to handle potatoes? First and foremost, serve cooked potatoes immediately, or cool them down quickly. If you bake potatoes in foil, remove the foil wrapper as soon as they are done cooking. Do not let them cool down while still tightly wrapped. Cool them quickly and get them into the refrigerator. Do not leave them sitting on the counter for more than 2 hours. When you reheat them, whether they are baked, roasted, or mashed, you must ensure they are piping hot all the way through. Again, that trusty food thermometer should read 165 degrees Fahrenheit in the thickest part of the potato. This high heat can destroy the botulism toxin, but it's always safer to prevent it from forming in the first place through proper cooling and storage. So, there you have it. Chicken, rice, spinach, and potatoes. 4 everyday foods that require our respect and attention. Now, I know this might feel like a lot to remember. It might even feel a little bit frightening. But I want you to take a deep breath and let that feeling go. Because this knowledge isn't meant to create fear. It's meant to create power. The power to protect yourself and your loved ones. The power to be the master of your kitchen. It all boils down to a few simple, unbreakable habits. To make it easy, I want to give you the 3 golden rules of leftover safety. Think of this as your new kitchen ritual. 1. The 2-hour window. This is the most important rule of all. All cooked food, all leftovers, must be moved from your table or countertop into the refrigerator within 2 hours of being cooked. If it's a hot day, that window shrinks to just 1 hour. Set a timer on your phone if you have to. Make this rule non-negotiable in your home. 2. Cool it quick, store it smart. Don't put a big, deep, steaming pot of soup or chili directly into the fridge. It will take too long to cool, staying in the danger zone temperature for hours. Instead, divide large batches of food into several shallow, airtight containers. This allows the food to cool down rapidly and safely. Smart storage is safe storage. 3. The thermometer is your friend. Your eyes and your hands cannot tell if food is safe. The only way to be certain that you have killed any potential bacteria when reheating is to use a digital food thermometer. Reheat all solid and liquid leftovers until they reach an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit 74 degrees Celsius. It takes 10 seconds to check, and it provides 100% peace of mind. These 3 rules, when you practice them, become second nature. They are simple acts of care and wisdom that protect your health and allow you to enjoy the convenience of leftovers without a single worry. At this incredible stage of life, It's not about adding restrictions. It's about adding knowledge. It's about listening to science, respecting our bodies, and making small, intelligent choices that add up to a life of vitality and well-being. If today's video gave you a new perspective or taught you something valuable, please let me know in the comments. Just type, "I learned something," below. Your feedback means the world to us. And if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss our next video, where we'll be talking about the one common morning stretch that could actually be harming your back. Thank you for investing this time in your health. Take care of yourself, because you absolutely deserve to feel safe, strong, and wonderful every single day.